proclamation with us. Everybody do it. Let's go. We're gonna turn the world upside down. We're gonna turn these people right side up. We're gonna shout until we're 6 feet over. We're gonna demonstrate something unusual. Come on! Something unusual.
Friends, I'm Donna Clement Petrushka, and I am honored to invite you to something truly extraordinary, the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. My father, Kim Clement, carried a unique prophetic anointing that allowed him to reveal God's heart and divine truths in ways that continue to resonate deeply today. His prophetic words, teachings, and worship moments are not just history. They are a living testament to God's ongoing work. Now you can gain unprecedented access to my father's entire digitized video archive. Every prophetic moment, every powerful teaching, every anointed worship session is now available to you in the Prophecy Vault. This treasure trove of spiritual wisdom and revelation is here for you to explore and be inspired by. But that's just the beginning. We've also enhanced the prophecy database, meticulously updating it with new video content and profound insights. This is more than just a collection. It's a living resource where you can delve into prophecies and see how they align with today's world. Plus, I'm excited to share that my dad's special School of the Prophets teachings are included, offering you deep, transformative lessons on hearing God's voice and understanding his revelations. As part of your membership, you'll also gain access to my prophecy blog, where I break down and analyze my father's prophecies, connecting them to current events. This blog will provide you with exclusive insights and a deeper understanding of how God's word is unfolding right now. And we're offering something truly special: exclusive analysis sessions available only to members of the Prophecy Vault. These sessions will go beyond the surface, providing in-depth exploration of specific prophecies and their implications for today and the future. Your partnership is crucial. Not only will you gain access to these incredible resources, but you'll also help us continue the vital work of preserving, digitizing, and adding new Kim Clement material to the archives. Together, we can ensure that my father's prophetic legacy continues to inspire and guide generations to come. So, I'm inviting you to step into the Kim Clement Prophecy Vault. Let's embark on this journey of revelation together, and I can't wait to see you inside. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Code Breakers Live. Don't mind my hair today. It's raining. I'm in Tennessee. Man, that storm, you guys, I don't know. I'm looking in the chats to see. I can see you guys asking each other how you're doing. Some of you were in the path. Some of you were kind of where I am. I'm in the middle of Tennessee. So we are praying for everybody who has been affected by this hurricane. And remember, my dad prophesied in the Seasons Prophecy when he talked about the summer and the fall. He talked about the hurricanes. Why do the hurricanes choose me? So interesting. And so we're gonna keep our eye on that and continue to pray for the people affected by this storm. I noticed the news is not covering it like it should, so I've been a little concerned about that. But I am. We're okay where we are. We're near Nashville, so we are. We were okay. We're just getting a lot of rain, and you guys know how that goes with my hair. So that's what's happening with that today. But don't worry about that, because I have got a very special guest for you. And before I bring her on, I want to play a video of her, just a short video. And this is what got my attention, because all of you know
about, or many of you do, about what my dad prophesied about the Fourth Reich. Dad prophesied from Paris, France, and from the Netherlands in 2010 the rise of a Fourth Reich, and he spoke of an agreement between Russia and Iran that would be overcome, and an invasion, an Islamic invasion in particular. And so, as we watch what's going on throughout the world right now, a lot of these prophecies are really starting to make a lot more sense. And even us, Mom and I, and us here at the House of Destiny, we are blown away by how much accuracy there is in these prophecies. I mean, really, as we go through this. And so, my guest today, I'll introduce her in a minute, but I want you to watch this. Lou, you can go ahead and play that.
Rights attorney Leigh Dundas. Some years ago, two men sat at a table discussing the most effective way to usher in war. Their decision after discussion was to close non-essential businesses and further quarantine certain members of society to prevent the spread of disease known as typhus. These men's names? Joseph Goebbels and Adolf Hitler. You think you're special. I am here to tell you, you are not. You are the new Fourth Reich. And I have news for you today. We will not be locking down or taking funding over RSV, which 90% of children contract before the age of 2, and only 100 to 500 a year die, which is a 0.00000472813 death rate. It is 0.041 Let me add a little bit here. Your whole meeting today was unlawful under the the government sections. Our governor's executive order that allowed you to suspend notice of meeting was specific to COVID, and your agenda item is specific to respiratory syncytial virus. Therefore, under the government code, you are still bound to notice requirements. An emergency under the government code section is defined as crippling activity or other activity which severely impairs public health and safety. And let me tell you, folks, a 0.000047814% death rate is nowhere near an emergency. You will not get more blood money into this county. You will not get more state or federal funding for our hospitals. This is not an emergency. To do so is fraud. You will not mask us like she just talked about doing. You will not quarantine the well or the sick. You will not keep our kids out of school, and damn right you're not going to cripple our businesses anymore. Do you hear me? We will never lock down again. This is the hill we die on, because this is America. This is the Constitution of America, and this is frickin' freedom. Never again.
So you guys see why I love her. And I have her here with me today, Leigh Dundas, human rights attorney, abolitionist dedicated to preserving basic freedoms while also combating global injustices like child slavery and the peddling of medical tyranny disguised as progress. Lou, bring her in. Hi, Leigh.
Hey, Donna, thanks so much for having me. I didn't know you were going to play that little video.
I didn't know I was going to do it either until right before. I said, Lou, we got to play this for them. I just thought that would be such a great, because that was my introduction to you. And then when you said that about the Fourth Reich, when you were, and what you said about Mengele, and Hitler, my dad actually, he prophesied about the rise of a Fourth Reich in 2010 from France and from the Netherlands. And so twice he did. And so when I first saw that video of you, a little bell went off in my head, because you said the words, and I know you didn't know who my dad was at that point. You'd never heard that prophecy. And so really we're seeing God's hand in all of this, truly. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so darn glad to be here, and I'm glad you're safe, and praying for the safety of everybody else that was in the path of that hurricane. But yeah, your dad was so far ahead of his time. And when I discovered his body of work, and then I got to meet you through Clay Clark, I just really felt like it was a divine appointment. And I felt like your dad was literally giving people the writing on the wall before we even knew enough to know what was coming. And for my part, California has been the leading bleeding edge of communism meets fascism, like totalitarian, I guess you could say, takeover here in the States. And we were the first to be hit with the mask mandate. We were the first to be hit with vaccine passports. I found a Holocaust survivor, Vera Sharad, made a TV ad to help fight that one down. And then I guess they didn't learn their lesson from the first couple of go-rounds with me and all the other patriots here, because at the end of 2022, mind you, we're almost into 2023. So this is not all that long ago. We were still in the middle of the COVID lockdown. And overnight, they're like, yeah, we're going to lock you down for RSV. And I'm like, I don't think so, Scooter. I think people are onto you. We're done with this. And I'm going to get me and my girls. We have like 5 hours notice. We're going to get our little buns down to the board meeting tomorrow morning and light it up. And I got to tell you, the next day, that video, I'm not even on Twitter, as your guy Lou knows. Like, I woke up and I have friends sending me Twitter clips from like Aboriginal Australia, where people are like, I don't know this woman, but darn right, we're never locking down again. And just like that, they actually enacted a second lockdown the day that you saw that video, notwithstanding me giving them heck on the mic. And by the way, for all of y'all who think I'm really eloquent, sometimes my tongue gets ahead of my brain. And I made a new word at the end. I said, I meant to say freaking freedom, and it came out frucking, like trucking freedom. Be that as it may, I think it got the point across. People could understand my new word that my tongue accidentally made. But that thing went so darn viral. And so they enacted the second lockdown. So now we've got 2 lockdowns and we're walking into 2023. And I think the evildoers looked around the next day and were like, dude, we got people in Perth, Australia, and South Africa, where Donna Clance's family's from, who are pissed off at us. We better walk this stuff back. And they did. And just like that, the RSV lockdown was no more. But I think if we hadn't fought it, it would have taken off in Orange County and LA and then gone around the world, and we would have been in the soup again. So thank you to all the patriots who give it thumbs up, because I do think the evildoers watch that stuff. And for all the people who are speaking out in their own neck of the woods, because this is a war we're in, and it's going to require a good tribe. And there is a good tribe, but your dad, man, he was calling it, because this is the Fourth Reich. And I've been saying it over and over and again, but I was not the first to say it. I think your dad was.
He was, but you know what? You nailed it right there. And that's why, everybody, I call her the machine gun, because you can see, that, you know what, if we need somebody to just take care of it, we're going to call Leigh Dundas for sure. Yeah. So you brought some stuff to show us today, Leigh.
I did. And, it's funny. I don't think I was a very fun child to raise, because apparently I came out of the womb with the mouth. And, but, I called my mom when I turned 50, and I'm like, hey, Mom, I think I finally figured out what God wanted me to do with this lifetime here. And she's like, oh, praise God, you finally found an outlet for that. And my husband was like the same. He's like, this is brilliant. You have a place to use all of your words and all of your passion, and it's not in the house, it's at the board meeting. I'm like, right? So
exactly right.
It took me a while, but I don't have a lot of gifts, and my friends and family can tell you I can't sing, I can't dance, I certainly can't do math or science, but I can, on a good day, I can light a microphone on fire. So long story short, to your question a second ago, General Flynn, who I know you know because we see each other in the green rooms at all the Reawaken events, and I can't wait to see you, by the way, at Clay's event mid-October here in Selma, one of the last ones, if not the last one. But I
think it is the last, yes.
Yeah, I think it might really be the last, because there's not that many more weekends before the election. So we got to go. We got to show up. We got to support our people who are supporting God and Trump and Flynn. But yeah, I was at one of the Reawaken events, and I was just shooting the jawbone in with Flynn. And he's like, look, the people in this building are amazing. The people on the stage are amazing, but there's not enough of us. We, you and me and Donna Clements and Clay, we can't just all run around saving the world. We need to teach a man to fish, not keep throwing him fish. And I said, I agree. And, I think I've got a working hamster wheel now. It took me a few years to figure it out, but I would categorize what I've been doing, because everybody thinks I'm a lawyer and I've been filing lawsuits. I haven't filed a single lawsuit in the last 4.5 years. I work busting child brothels in Asia. I have since 2013. And lawsuits don't work in communist countries. And I took one look around California in March and April of 2020, and I'm like, yeah, this is a communist country. It still looks like a first world country, but functionally speaking, we may as well be living in 1930s Germany or, Cambodia during the Pol Pot, communist overthrow. So I was like, I'm not going to bet the house or the farm on a lawsuit or making a good law to get rid of all the crazy tyranny. I'm just going to grab my Walmart bullhorn and go give them heck on the microphone like you just saw. And after doing a lot of these, and then the truckers convoy that I architected, and with the help of the truckers and some various other things, I realized that the 3 successful things I had done were replicable. Like they could be taught to other people. They don't require a lawyer. They just require a pissed off parent or grandparent or citizen, a Walmart bullhorn, and the ability to go on the mic. You don't even need to be eloquent. You just need to be passionate. The thing that scares the people on the other side is not that I went to law school. It's that you can hear the gravel in my voice. And when I look at them, I look like I'm coming with all guns blazing, right? Peacefully. But lots of people can channel that. Everybody can channel that. So I had 3 different things I had done that had worked really well. I call it a name and shame program, where you find the bad plan. Drag queen story hour, a second lockdown in the middle of our first lockdown, masking children when they need to breathe, any of these things, right? Find the bad plan. That's step 1. Find the person pushing the bad plan. There's usually 1 or 2 people on your local board. It's not the whole board. They may all be voting for it, but there's 1 or 2 ringleaders. And those are the ones you want, the mean girls from junior high, that crowd. And then you go to research on them. That's step 3. And you get to know these guys better than you know your own spouse. And you are looking for anything in their any skeleton in their closet, anything they've done in this lifetime that's illegal or unethical or failing that just makes the average citizen go, what? They did what? I don't think so. And then you can't blackmail them. That's illegal. You can't go running up and go, look what I found in your, skeletons in your closet. And if you don't do what I say, I'm going to let that fly. That's illegal. You will go to jail. Not legal advice, just a true story. But there is nothing that stops you from putting it on blast, which is what you want to do anyway. You don't want to scare them. You really want the world to know how evil they are.
Yes.
So you just grab a microphone like Donna and I are doing today, and you let it fly that they were, I don't know, arrested for child rape 20 years ago, or got caught in bed with their mistress, or in the case of our health officer, she was installed 2 weeks before lockdown. In the middle of another guy's term, which isn't at all suspicious. And I put my PIs on researching her, and they're like, well, we didn't find any crimes. But it turns out after she went to medical school in Utah, the only thing she did after that was work at her mommy's methadone clinic, handing out Suboxone prescriptions, which are opiate prescriptions, to heroin addicts. And I'm like, that's good enough. Like the good people of Orange County aren't going to want to hear that lady is in charge of their kids' health. And I let it fly at a board meeting, and she was fired, resigned, whatever you want to call it, the next day. So again, Flynn came to me and he's like, girl, I'm going to give you a little stipend, and your nonprofit is going to put together a course curriculum. And we partnered with a Christian university here in Orange County. And I rolled out a 20-hour course where I'm just teaching other people how to do the name and shame, or how to do a convoy, or, whatever it may be. And we spend the first couple sessions unbrainwashing our youth. By the way, it's a Psych 101 course. It's actually, your kid can take it for homeschool credit or as an actual college psychology course. Yeah.
That is fantastic.
And I unbrainwash them. I teach them about World War II, the rise of the Third Reich, communism, all the lies we've been told, because you need to kind of clear the windscreen before they can see the reality. And then I walk them through what's really going on. And at the very end, I literally give them the playbook for how they can go do what I've been doing, which is not a lawsuit. It's just yelling and bullhorns. And I know I'm monologuing. I'm going to stop in a second.
No, you can do that. It's fine.
Okay, cool. So we had most of the people who signed up, I had 200 people sign up, and I didn't need to be a college professor. I needed that, like Donna and I need another hole in our head. I did this because I really thought there was a need. But all of the people who took it were our age, right, Donna? Except one mom got her, I think the girl was 13 or 14 or 12. She enrolled her for course credit. And you can tell she's a young girl because she's literally, everything's blue and pink and yellow highlights. But, I gave them extra credit if they were taking it for a grade, if they actually handwrote notes, because that helps you learn stuff. And you have a 30% better retention when you handwrite. And there's a whole page here. She's going through DDT and DES and Operation Mockingbird and all of this stuff. And then, I go through the name and shame plan, and she's got the steps: find the bad plan, find the ringleader, do your oppo research, put it on blast. I got to the end of this, And I always closed on a high note with a story of a war hero who charged a hill when nobody thought he could do it and did it anyway. And the last day I told the story of Secretariat, who won the Triple Crown out in your country, out in the grassy states on the East Coast, and laid down a record that has never been broken since I was 1 year old. And she said, this is her quote. She said, nobody wins against the power of a people. Hit them where it hurts. When the citizens rise up, the evildoers are done. We cannot win this war unless we use the right mindset, the right playbook, and support the right people. Be the guy who jumps in front of the tank. I rolled the Tiananmen Square where that college kid jumped in front of a tank and stopped it. And she said, you are here to fight for what is right, fulfill God's plan for you. Be the Secretariat in your own life. We were born to run and win the race that we are in. And I read her notes and I started crying.
Oh my goodness. And she was
I'm
13,
like,
14?
Yes.
Oh.
Look at all the highlights. You can tell she's got hearts and stuff in the margins. And my husband goes, you got to read this girl's notes. It's in your inbox. I'm like, oh, I'm busy. I'll get to it. And then I read it and it still brings me to tears. And
Wow.
I thought every 8th grader on up, or even 3rd grader, needs this course. They are bulletproof. I had said when Flynn came to me, he's like, what do you want to do with this course? I'm like, I want to Teflon coat our youth, unbrainwash them and rebrainwash them so they can keep God and country alive for their kids. And when I read her notes, I'm like, I don't know if I did it for everybody, but I did it for the one. And I really want the kids around America taking this because they can't be going to the libtard schools. We need to stop that stuff.
Yeah, it's terrible, the indoctrination that happens and the way they come out just completely, and it's really it's awful because young people they don't know.
They don't know.
So to put in their minds a lie, which we see it all over the place. I mean, if you just look at I don't know, Gays for Palestine. You can really tell that these kids don't know what they just want to be part of something,
right?
And they don't really understand. So I think that is so awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that.
And it's funny, again, back to God for a second. I just came from church out here in Orange County. I go to Robert Schuller Jr.'s church. His dad founded the Crystal Cathedral. And it's not like I didn't tell him, hey, I'm going on today and we're going to talk about my course. At church, he literally threw up a slide, and the blue is the percentage of professors who are Democrats. I don't know if I can get it.
Oh my goodness. I saw this the other day on X.
Yeah, in various disciplines. So they go through communications, anthropology, religion. The best we've got is we're like 25% in engineering at the bottom where the red is. All the rest are like 97% Democrats teaching your kids. And the ratio of liberal to conservative faculty has grown from 3 to 2. So it used to be in the 60s, 3 libs to every 2 conservative professors. Now in journalism and communications, which is scary, it's 108 to 0.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that very chart. It's amazing you actually pulled that up because I actually looked at it and I read through it too. I think it was yesterday, and I couldn't believe it that it was 100%. So that means there's no conservatives teaching journalism at all.
Right.
That has to be changed. It's not right.
100% has to be changed. So this is what the course does. Like I said, I had fun teaching it because obviously I like to talk. I will say I'm never going to do 5-hour. You can take it anywhere in the world. 1/5 of the people who signed up to take it, because it's all online, but I taught it live. So it looks like I'm teaching from the stage. So it's kind of exciting. It's not just me sitting here behind my desk. But I did 5-hour segments 4 Saturdays in a row. And, I can talk for a good couple hours, no prob. I would come home at the end of those days looking like a limp dish rag. And my husband's like, you're not talking. What's wrong? And I'm like, I think I'm out of words. And he goes, oh God, I never thought I'd see the day.
That is exactly how it would be with me and my husband. And that happens to me is I'll get home after doing a few things. I'll do interviews, I'll do shows, and I'll get home and I'll be quiet. And everyone's like, what's wrong with you? And I talk too much. So I know exactly. My dad used to tell me when I was a little girl that I had a big mouth. And I was a kid and I didn't understand what he meant. And I thought he meant my literal mouth. And I remember standing in front of, I never told him this until later, but I stood in front of the mirror and opened my mouth as wide as I could. And I was wondering, is my mouth bigger than other people's? And when I told that to my dad later on, he laughed so hard at me. He said, "No, Donna, that's not." Of course, I understood what he meant. So I totally identify
Yeah.
with you with that. I
Yeah.
feel you there.
I tell you, man, my mom used to have me sit on my hands in the car. And it's because I use my hands to talk. And I really don't speak very well if I'm not moving. That's why I'm always pacing on stage or flapping my hands around. And literally, I was like last year, maybe my mom and I were over dinner and I'm like, Mom, what was with the game in the back of the 70s station wagon where you had me like sitting on my hands randomly to see how long I could do it? She goes, I figured out when you were 2.5 that you couldn't talk without flapping your hands, and it was the only piece I'd get. So if I needed to like run through my grocery list in my head at a stoplight, I'd have you do that. You could only make it 30 seconds. It wasn't like child abuse, but I'm like, that's what that game was. It's like you needed a moment of mommy peace. She goes, true story, honey. You were a mile a minute. I'm like, well, I do not, I don't doubt you. I remember being a talkaholic. So, but now I put it to good use. Your kids can get the course. It's at leedundas.com. If you want to throw that slide up on the, if Lou wants to throw the slide up now, it's my website is leedundas.com and my mother gave extra letters. So my name is LEIGHDUNDAS.com. And you go to the education tab that you see underscored there in red on the screen. And you can just buy the course and you can literally do the course 5 minutes a night while you're eating your TV dinner, hopefully a holistic, healthy dinner from Singapore, if you want, from Sweden. One fifth of my people who took it were out of the country, Singapore, Sweden, Italy, and a whole bunch from Australia and Canada because they had some of the worst during the lockdown. But yeah, that's how they find it. And I'm really, like I said, I didn't have time to do it, but in hindsight, I'm glad I did because we can't have our kids learning from 100% libtard professors.
No, I have an 11-year-old daughter and she's just entered middle school in 6th grade. And that was a big thing for my husband and I is, we know now that she's getting older, what are they going to teach her? Now, luckily we're in a really great district. The school district here is okay. So we're keeping our eye on it because of this very reason.
Yeah.
And, a lot of parents are feeling that concern. And I think, not everybody can afford private school and not everybody can afford, to do, that kind of thing. But at least you would have something else that you can say, okay, they're going to, and we talk to her too. And she's, she may only be 11, but she's very well aware because of what I do.
Right.
And she watches me every week. So it's easier with me, but we make sure to talk to her so that she, and find out, what are they teaching you? What are you reading? Because when she brings books home, I'm like, what are you reading?
Yeah.
And again, we're lucky because of the school district we're in. We're in a very conservative. I mean, when I'm driving her to school, it's just Trump and Vance signs all the way to school. So we're safe where we are, and we feel okay. But even here, it's very important that parents are involved and aware of what. And for so long, we trusted all of these institutions. We trusted our doctors. We trusted the government. We trusted the schools. It was just a given. Oh, of course they're not going to, and truly it was exposed through COVID and the lockdowns and the way things went. And I used to live in California. I lived right outside of Los Angeles for 13 years.
Right.
And, after Dad died, Mom and I left for many reasons. And one of them was because we could see before COVID the way things were already going over there. And so when you say it's communist, it is.
It's
completely. It is. I mean, the schools, the universities. I have 9 brothers and sisters, so everybody was going to school at different grades. 5 of them are adopted from China. Under the one-child law, my mom and dad were raising money to help the orphans because what happened is a lot of little girls and sick children were abandoned during that time.
Yeah.
And so they've closed that door now in China. We can no longer do the adoptions anymore. But when it was open, my mom and dad were helping. So the hundreds of children they helped to get surgeries, and they were able to do it by sending the children to Israel. There's my mom made friends with the lady, and they were able to get the surgeries cheaper in Israel but I mean, they were taken care of. Someone went with the child. They had a place to stay. They were fed and cared for. They got the surgery, then recovery. And during that time, we would find people who could adopt the children. And so, of course, during the course of that, mom and dad ended up with 5 of them because they could, they're so cute, adorable little things. And
God bless your parents for doing
I know,
that.
really.
Yeah.
And so we actually, my sister, Shushu, got baptized this morning at church. So we all
Oh,
wanted to get baptized, and so she got baptized at church. She's 12. Is Shushu 12 now? Yes, Shushu is
wow.
12, and she's in the same grade as my daughter.
Oh,
So it's just, they're just flourishing little lives, but you think about what their lives would have been, and under communism in China,
yeah.
and you spoke of Tiananmen Square, and I saw a video of you earlier talking about it in one of your when you were speaking, and you referred to those kids and how they locked their arms together, and the young generation are who is going to be running the world,
Yeah.
and the system has certainly been infiltrated
Yeah.
and messed with their little minds, and so it is up to us. And so I
Yeah.
encourage everybody watching right now. I know a lot of people are really enthusiastic in the chat here. To go to leedundas.com and have a look at that. I'm going to. I didn't actually realize you were doing this, Lee. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go look at it today. My daughter is going to look at it too.
That would be great. Well, thank you guys for doing what you did with the one child policy in China. A lot of people don't know this, but when I was fighting the child brothel scene in Southeast Asia, and it was crazy. Like we were working in the south of Thailand. It was under radical jihadi control. So there was radical terror training cells that like trained the USS Cole bombers, like the suicide bombers. Everybody thinks that's just in the Mideast, but South Asia is a hotbed for it. And on the Malay side of the southern Thai border, they're just rife with all of these terrorist training groups. So on the Thailand side of the border, there's a town of 140 child brothels. And that's all that's there. It's very sad, but they call the area the red light, obviously for the child sex slavery issue, the red light jihadi district, because the first year I worked there in 2013, we had 330 bombs go off. So every day the bombers are using the brothels over the river on the Thailand side as cannon fodder. I mean, it was just awful. And when we rescue the girls out of the Thai brothels, 90% of them don't come from Thailand. They're coming from Laos, which is directly to the north and a currently communist country, and they're coming from Cambodia. And a lot of them aren't even Laotian or Cambodian, they are Chinese, because when China had the one child policy, obviously men are the preferred gender in China. When a couple would have a baby, if it was a little girl, the husband would often be like, nope, I don't have anybody to carry on the family line. We need to try again, but they weren't allowed to try again. So they would engage in infanticide, which is the killing of your own child, or they would go down to the border where the brothels were in Southeast Asia, and they would sell their little girl baby across the border into Cambodia, get money for her. Now they're back to having 0 kids and they can try again for their boys. So the one child policy in China was fueling the child sex trade in the brothels in Southeast Asia. And people didn't even understand that dynamic. But for the religious folks who came into China, and really were able to do help with the sick ones, the orphan ones, the ones that nobody wanted and were abandoned. You were literally doing God's work, because for all you know, if your parents had not stepped in, Danae, that girl may have well been offed by her family over the border into a child brothel. And that is a place nobody ever wants to be. But I talk a lot about the brothel work in my book, which I see you have up there.
Yes.
And there's full color photos in the middle, which doubled the cost of my printing. And I told people, no, you got to do it anyway. People need to see. They need to see what it's like, even if they don't have the time or money or desire to go there, because pictures are worth 1,000 words, and it really opens people's eyes and then their hearts to being able to understand the issue so they can then help with the issue. But yeah, if you go to the book tab of my website, leedundas.com, Amazon has been out of print and saying they're going to reprint it forever, and they're not, probably because I'm a Republican. So just go to my website to order it, because that's safer.
Well, our people are definitely used to that because we have the same problem. So everybody knows to go to kimclement.com. And if we ever disappear from social media, the same, because we've certainly been censored there. And you know what? It's also interesting you bring up Cambodia, because Mom went to Cambodia and she was right there at that border, and she came back and told us about what she saw with the trafficking, and we were able to get some tuk-tuks and help with the children getting to school and getting fed and clothed, because they were naked. They literally had no food, no clothes.
Right.
People would disappear.
Yep.
So we actually wish my mother was here. She's not here today, but I wish I could call her in, because she actually went into Cambodia. You guys would probably have a heck of a conversation.
Oh,
She was
yeah.
there in the mud with those kids, and I think that they what she was doing when she was there is there was something going on with blindness with some of these
Mhm.
kids, and we raised money to get the surgery so they couldn't get obviously a new eye, but it was a prosthetic so that they wouldn't look, because
Weird.
if they looked like that, then they were rejected as well. And
Right.
so we were just trying to find what can we do to help over there. But I know Mom definitely is well aware of what you just relayed, also with her work in China too.
That's amazing she was doing that work. And I encourage all of the viewers right now. I know most of us were raised in a first world country, and we, want to keep our kids safe. But one of the best things I ever did is we went to visit church friends when my daughter was 8. She was in 3rd grade in Australia and New Zealand. And I got bored because I had never not worked. And we were going for like 4 or 5 months. And I reached out to anti-sex slavery nonprofits. And I literally, everybody was like, wait, let me get this right. You're like a white lawyer lady with a soccer mom from California. You want to help the child brothels. Bye-bye. Like, I just got rejection.
Okay.
Finally, some Christians from Orange County intersected my request for help, and we ended up doing some of the work. So we ended up going into Vietnam, and we met with these church folk who were running an anti-sex slavery nonprofit by the name of A21. It stood for Abolishing 21st Century Slavery. And then I started doing work for him, but my daughter was in tow, right? And we ended up going through Cambodia. And this is a picture of my daughter. Wait, there we go.
Oh, I see.
In Cambodia on a floating orphanage. So all those kids that you see there, this is what the water looks like. It's brown and muddy. Tonle Sap Lake is only literally a few feet deep this time of year. It's like 12 feet deep. They go to the bathroom in the water. They drink out of the water.
Oh, no.
They fish out of the water. This is their life. And these are the kids who have it good because somebody's taken them in and they're orphans. So we're there on the barge, and we go to get off, and we had come out to this floating orphanage barge thing on a canoe. And as we're going to get back in our little canoe and step off the bigger platform down into the tiny canoe boat, a teeny tinier canoe comes up alongside, and I'm helping my daughter get off. And she's 8. I didn't want to fall her in the crack and into this nasty lake. And my husband starts pulling at my elbow, and he's like, hey, turn around. You got to hear this. And I was kind of upset with him, like, dude, like, I'm busy here, but I annoyingly look over, like, what do you want? And there is a woman that I thought was probably my mother's age, but on closer inspection was maybe my age. Very wrinkled, clearly spent a life in the hot Cambodian sun, in a teeny tiny canoe that was barely waterworthy. And in the front of her boat, she had her daughter, a big, like a 1.5-year-old baby, maybe, who, to your earlier statement, was stark naked except for a diaper and sucking on a bottle of dirty lake water.
Oh my gosh.
And this woman looked at my daughter, who on that day was dressed head to toe in pink because that was her favorite color because she was 8 years old, and literally looks back at her daughter and looks back at my daughter one more time. And she points at my child and she goes, $1,000 you take? And my husband's like, that's what I wanted you to hear.
Oh.
And my daughter's stepping into the boat. So she's right by my ear as she's like leaning in, and she goes, oh, Mama, did she just offer to sell her baby to you?
Oh,
and
my
I
gosh.
said, yes, my love, I think she did. Step into the boat. And then she repeated it a second time. And all I've got to say, Donna, is thank God I didn't have $1,000 with me, or I would have bought it. And that is not the way to handle this problem. You've got to legally adopt. You can't just buy children and come through the LAX with them.
You can't just buy them, but that is heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking, but I will tell you, and to where I started this story, to my earlier point, it took a while to get to, take your children there. Take your children to see. I took my daughter. I didn't know we were going to see the killing fields of Cambodia. Well, I knew we were going to the killing fields. I didn't know that they had a monument with skulls at the end. And my daughter came face to face at age 8 with that, because it's at the very end of the fields and you don't know it's there because they don't talk about it online in Cambodia where everything's censored. And she went racing off. And before I could catch up to her, she was nose to nose with a skull of a child who had died in the Cambodian overthrow under Pol Pot by the communists in the 1970s. And again, she looked at me and she said, "How did this happen?" And I said, "Those in power lied to the people. And by the time the people figured it out, it was too darn late. Let this be a lesson to you, my dear. Don't you ever believe somebody in a position of power just because they're in a position of power. If anything, as a baseline, you distrust them until they prove themselves worthy." And I really thought, my husband and I were crying in bed at the hotel that night. We're like, oh my gosh, how much money are we going to be spending on therapy after these 2 days in Cambodia with my daughter? Never needed a single ounce of therapy. She is now at one of the most liberal campuses in the world because she wants to be a veterinarian and they're the best vet school. And that child has her head screwed on straight. She converted two of her roommates to Christ. She found her tribe. She goes to church twice a week, just got back from a mission trip to Europe. Like, take your children there. They've seen enough Disneyland and Grand Canyon. Take your children to these places and you won't need to preach at them. They will grow up and they will want to help and want to give because they will understand what's at stake.
Well, and I can understand that too, because that's exactly what my parents did with me. They just, my dad was traveling all over the world, ministering and, doing his thing, but he always took us with him. And another thing about him is he refused to put us in public school ever. And well, you have to understand though, he was in, apartheid South Africa. So he lived in South Africa when South Africa was still under apartheid. So did I. I was in the first grade when that ended and they allowed Black children to come to school with white children. And I'll never forget that day when the first Lindiwe was her name. And I remember her being scared and nervous because she didn't know what to expect. And we all tried to be very inviting. We were just kids, and kids are kids. They don't even know. And I didn't realize until I grew up what was actually how what I was in. But my dad did, and one thing he was very against was communism, and he understood the danger beforehand. And so aside from just the prophetic gift in him, just his own life experiences, he could see, and he was beginning to see the danger of that here in America, and really was, you want to talk about blowing the horn, he was shouting and shouting everywhere and prophesying and making people aware of how bad this is, because like you said, you can't wait till it's too late. And that's with this election, that's why everybody's making, and I think this is why my dad prophetically saw this year the way he did, because of how it is that important. And a lot of people are out there saying, oh, well, for whatever reason, I may not vote. And I have just been telling everybody, you have to vote. Don't worry about if they're cheating or not, because if enough of us vote, it will overwhelm it enough that there's some hope there. But also even recently people have been a little weirded out about what Trump said about abortion. And he was saying, he understands about certain things. And some people we know said, well, then I can't vote for him. And my answer to them is, because morally, and my answer is, if you don't, you're then allowing the worst possible thing to happen, where until after birth, or to term or to after birth abortions is what's going to happen.
Right.
And, we know that Trump doesn't believe in it himself. And I think that's the most important thing I keep trying to tell people. We know Trump said, we don't do that.
Right.
We don't kill babies. That's what, and so, a lot of people who, another point that's been made is the evangelicals who don't vote, and a lot of Christians who just don't vote, whatever the reason. I didn't actually realize that was the case, but it is. And so I'm really encouraging a lot of Christian people who might not have normally, or want to stay out of politics. Now is not the time for that. Now is the time to get out there and vote. Otherwise, we're going to end up like Cambodia or China or worse.
Yeah, you've got to put things in perspective. And this is really a single issue election. If you care about living in a country that is continuing in the same vein that you and I knew growing up, you moved here later. There's only one way to vote. And maybe you disagree on his environment policy or something he said about abortion or something he said about energy or renewable, it doesn't matter. If you have no First Amendment and no Second Amendment, you are fodder for the tanks that China is going to bring into this country, and you will never come back from there. And, you know, my ancestry is we were in Eastern Europe, we were Hungarian, Romanian, and I grew up listening to my grandfather, and he's like, it doesn't go well when you fight communist tanks with pitchforks and rocks. Like you lose. There's only one way that goes. So you get to a tipping point where it's a never come back from it kind of perspective. And we're almost there. It is imperative not just that we vote, but that we cast the right vote. To your point about states with full-term abortion, it was like Church knew what I was going to be talking about today, but the dark blue states on this map allow full-term abortions. And I think the next one, the green, the light blue, and the dark blue. So the green is up to 20 to 26 weeks. The dark blue is you can abort the baby whenever. And California is light green, but I think we've gone full crazy since that map was done. And there's a lot of states where you can abort your child even after they're born, which isn't called abortion. That's called murder. Thank you very much. And we need to get on top of this. And there's really only one clear, sane voice. I have watched Kamala. She came from California. We're intimately familiar with her out here. And trust me when I say you don't want a person whose daddy was teaching communism to be running this country. No. You just don't.
No.
You just don't. So can't go there. And we got to keep our patriots healthy, you know, spiritually, emotionally, our kids reading the right things, getting educated in a real way, not a woke liberal way, and being healthy. And that's another thing that I've really started to prioritize over the last few months, because as fun as this has been to fight for freedom for 55 months with zero paycheck, I'm not a fan of having no income. Nobody is. And it's just not a sustainable business model. So nobody pays a lawyer to run a convoy or make a TV ad against vaccine passports. And I won't do the lawsuits. So I'm an unpaid lawyer doing things that are highly effective. But be that as it may, the state of Utah recently, speaking of sane states that aren't legalizing full-term abortion, state of Utah came along a couple months ago and said, hey, you know what? We are going to specifically allow umbilical cord amniotic stem cell. A lot of people get freaked out in the Christian Patriot movement. They're like, that's like Planned Parenthood. I'm like, dude, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Planned Parenthood person. You know this. We would never do that. It's actually not even really commercially available or very legal to do. Thank God the U.S. has drawn the line somewhere. But the other stuff, as you all know, Danae, having had children of our own, like you give birth to the baby, everybody gets so excited. They're like, oh, the baby's so cute. Nobody pays attention, including the mom, to what happens after that. But what happens after that is the umbilical cord comes out and the placenta, because thank you very much, men in the audience who may not know your anatomy. We don't get to keep that. It's not like a liver or a kidney where the women walk around being like, yeah, I still got the umbilical cord from 20 years ago. Like that would kill you if that happened. So all that stuff comes out after the baby. Nobody notices because everybody's, eyes on the baby. And it used to be in the hospital, they just toss it. It was considered medical waste. And then somebody figured out, hey, you know what? This is actually really high in stem cells. And stem cells are really useful. If you're not familiar with stem cells, they're like a little blank cell. And they can grow up to be anything in your body. They can grow up to be part of your eyeball or your kidney or your cartilage in your left knee that got worn down because you used to run a lot, or new muscle, new tendon, new ligaments. And it's pretty freaking awesome. So my husband had a business for many years where we were doing this type of stem cell, umbilical amnio type stem cell, and putting it into people who had bone on bone knees or hip arthritis or blew out their tendon. We treated ex-NFL players, NHL, little old ladies who were 102 years old and wanted to square dance one more time before they died. Like you name it, we did it. And then, as is the case, it was working too darn well. America's not about wellness care. It's about sickness care. And how dare you give somebody a shot that has no really side effects and take them away from their orthopedic surgeon, because that ortho is going to make 40 grand if he replaces your knee with metal. He doesn't want to lose you. And sure, shooting Pfizer and pharma guys don't want to lose the pain pill addiction. So pharma wasn't happy that people were getting better naturally. The orthopedic surgeons weren't happy to lose their $300,000 low back and knee surgeries and 40 grand knee surgeries. And so they lobbied like they always do. And the feds came along and said, we're just going to make it basically impossible to do in the middle of COVID when nobody was paying attention, as they did so many bad plans when nobody knew what was going on. And then God bless the state of Utah. They came along 3-4 months ago and they said, you know what? Every right that isn't granted to the feds specifically is reserved to the states. That's how this US of A works. And we don't recall George Washington and friends specifically giving the federal government the right to talk about stem cell one way or the other. So we're going to make a little law here in the state of Utah where we give it the green light as long as it's, again, umbilical, amniotic, that kind of thing, not embryo, not fetus, not Planned Parenthood. So they gave it the green light this summer, and we are jumping back into doing that because so many patients want that. And it was the business that we used to have before I got famous screaming into bullhorns. So if you know anybody who's interested, again, you can go onto my website and you can click on the Healthy Living tab. But if you're not familiar with how well stem cell works, I would love for Lou to play. This was a patient of ours. He ended up doing his whole body, but he started with his neck. And I want to say it's video number 3, but you could hear it from the horse's mouth. It's like a 30-second spiel here.
Okay. I think.
Yeah, for only 3 weeks, this is amazing. I could turn my head left to right without having a chiropractic adjustment before and after. Daily, sometimes multiple times a day, stress hot in the neck that would then lead to a headache and make me a kind of grumpy person. Grumpy Gus was a term used on one of my reviews, as I had to kind of like moderate myself and eat more aspirin. Since the shots, 0.
Wow.
This is amazing. You know, I mean, I'm talking 20 years I've been dealing with this.
Huh.
So yeah, that was.
I saved my children's when I gave birth. They asked me if do you want to save the stem cells, and I did. I have them stored.
Yeah, well, they can handle a lot of genetic conditions by taking those out of storage if your kid were, heaven forbid, to get some weird thing going on.
Yes.
And that's one of the things you can do. So Don just came. He had a lot of body parts. He started with his neck. It worked so darn good. The next week, he's like, hey, where are you going to be? We're like, we're not in San Francisco this week where you live. We're, down in Santa Barbara. And he's like, well, I'm coming in again. So then we treat his low back. And the guy couldn't touch his knees before we treated him. His back was so bad, and he's palming the floor like the next day. So then he calls back and he's like, where are you going to be next week? And I'm like, I think Palm Springs. Why? Like, what do you got? How many joints do you have wrong, Don? Right? And like, maybe we should do this all in one fell swoop. And he goes, yeah, I'm convinced now. It's worked 2 for 2. He goes, I'm going to come in and get the rest of me done, the knees, because I can't walk very well. And my wife she's worse than me. I was the guinea pig. She's got rheumatoid osteoarthritis. She couldn't hold a paintbrush, Donna. Her hands were so crippled up. So we treated the both of them, and then they gave us an amazing testimonial. So if you cue that one up, you can hear it from the quiet mouth of the wife too. Here we go.
I've had several rounds now of shots. The first round was left sciatic and neck. Turned my head shoulder to shoulder ever since then. That was last March of 2017. And no headaches, off aspirin, off ice packing. Now I can touch my toes again without having to, I can get there in about 15 minutes and hold my breath. And no, I can just touch my toes anytime I want. And now I'm running away from Katie where she's getting more shots so that she can try to keep up with me a little bit better. I was the guinea pig. She says, well, you do it first and we'll see how it works out. And it's worked out really amazingly well. And I can't say how much of a life improvement it's made for me. I mean, I could go on for an hour. But
my tailbone stopped hurting. It's been hurting for a long, long time. I had no more migraines, and I've not had any since. And that alone,
yep, worth it.
Like a miracle.
And so we're really thankful to Stem Cell and to Hirsch Medical. So thank you.
That's our lifestyle.
Definitely.
So yeah, we called them a week or 2 later, and we would do like weekly follow-ups. And they're like, yeah, don't call us. We don't want the roaming charges. We're hiking the Great Wall of China. And we would hear it over and over again. Like, for those of you who aren't aware, there was this one funny, we treated a general contractor. It was, again, his whole body. He was a hot mess. He's like, it's my knees, my hips, my shoulders, my this, my that, and his hip. His hip was the worst, and he couldn't get on his motorcycle. And it was really like upsetting to him because that was like the thing he'd love to do.
Yeah.
So we treat his whole body. It works great. He's so excited. He jumps on his motorcycle. You can throw his picture up there. This is Doug. He jumps on his motorcycle. The first thing he does, puts his leg over the saddle, takes off down the street, and lays his bike down.
Oh.
So he calls us up. Yeah, I have a testimonial, but I don't want to take up the whole time with testimonials. He calls us up the next week and he's like, I need to come get my ankle done. I'm like, your ankle was like the one good body part on you. What the heck happened? And he's like, I laid my bike down because I was so excited with how good my low back and hip felt that I took my motorcycle out, got in a crash. And now, I need stem cell on my ankle because that's the side that went down. So people used to ask all the time, do you need a second shot? I'm like, not typically, unless you roll your motorcycle. And at that point, that's on you. That's not on the stem cell. So we're going to be doing some stem cell in the state of Utah, in Salt Lake City. We're doing it this coming weekend, October 5th and 6th. So if people are interested, they can go to the website, click the Healthy Living page, and we're just doing the basic stuff, the arthritis, the blown ligaments and tendons. But if you're not familiar, there is a racehorse in England where he blew out his tendon by nicking his front leg with his back hoof during a race, and just severed the tendon. It was so bad they were going to shoot the horse. They put the screens up around him on the track and the whole 9 yards. And all the little owners from this village in England were like, don't shoot our horse. Like, he's a miracle horse. So they did stem cell, and not only did they spare this horse's life, it grew the tendon back together so darn well, he was able to bear weight, walk, and run. And 18 months later, Lou, if you could splash up the racehorse picture, 18 months later, this horse, okay, let me go through this first. So this guy was a quadriplegic. He got stem cell on his spinal cord in 2016. And this was the San Francisco Business Journal front page. He's lifting weight after stem cell. And then the next slide, I want to say is, this guy, this is April 2nd, 2024, ABC News. They did stem cell on him down here. I think he lives in San Diego by me. And he's now up and walking. Again, full disclosure, I'm not making claims. This is not what we're doing. I am simply reviewing the science behind how efficacious it is. But not only did it help these quadriplegics walk, which is, again, not what we're doing, this poor little horse that was going to be shot, on the next slide, you're going to see.
Oh, I see him.
18 months after he had severed his tendon and they did stem cell, they not only got this horse running again, they raced him back into the winner's circle, and he won the Welsh Grand National Race, which is a 4-mile race with 22 steeple jumps in it. That is a lot of tendon pressure, even for a healthy horse. That is.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Oh, I know, right? I'm so glad they were able to save his life. So, again, really good things coming down the pike medically, and people should know about this because this is the wave of the future. It's not sickness care. It's not pharmacare. There's other things you can do. So if you're interested, go to my website, Healthy Living page, leedennis.com. Just click on the I want more data for stem cell, and you can do that. And there's also an amazing oxygen water. It is a really high oxygen content water, and it's reversing all sorts of conditions because a lot of our disease is courtesy. You can just click the pink box if you want to buy the water, and over on the right side, you sign up for the stem cell. But on this water thing, the root of a lot of diseases is lack of oxygen. If you just go right now to Google and type in, does cancer thrive in a low oxygen or hypoxic environment, you'll get study after study saying,
Yes.
And if you want to ward off disease, conversely or inversely, you want more oxygen in your system. So this water is like a little oxygen delivery vehicle. They gave it to a woman on the next slide, a 60-year-old lady, and her blood was all kind of clumpy before she drank the water, which is not healthy blood. You don't want to like a gaggle of high school girls in the hallway at passing period. And then 2 minutes later, after drinking an 8-ounce glass of this water, that's her blood on the other side. So
wow.
Yeah.
You should know, as you're talking about this, I'm remembering that my dad was looking into stem cell stuff because one of my adopted sisters has, what does Mia have? In her lungs, pulmonary hypertension.
Oh, that's really dangerous. Yeah.
And Dad had been looking at stem cell stuff. I remember him asking questions, and I didn't know anything about it at the time, except for I had saved my own children's. And
Yeah.
he it was a conversation I'm just remembering having with him, where he said, he had been looking into it for my sister because of her pulmonary hypertension, and because she
Yeah.
has to have a PICC line in all the time. She has a special thing. She can't even swim
Yeah.
or go in water without a special sleeve on. And that was because she was already 2, I think, or almost, when mom and dad adopted her. So the heart surgery she was meant to have at birth, she didn't
Mhm.
have. And so it caused the pulmonary hypertension.
Hypertension.
And
Wow.
so it's very interesting to me that you're bringing this up, because as you're saying that, I'm remembering dad was looking into it as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the chat here are very interested.
It's pretty amazing stuff, and I know people are used to me just talking only about child trafficking and saving the country, but we can't do it without the freedom fighters in it. And if you're sick and stuck on your couch, you're not out there fighting for freedom.
Right.
So we need to understand that it's not just the desire to fight, but the ability to fight. It's a spiritual, physical, emotional battle. And drinking healthy water that can reverse a lot of these diseases. I mean, in Milan, some lady had cut off the tip of her finger. We're not going to show you the picture because it's pretty gory and we don't want to freak out social media, but she literally like run her thumb on the diagonal above the top joint through a saw. And the University of Italy at Milan was like, well, let's throw some water in the bandage to see if it helps speed the healing. And it regrew her flipping thumb. And, I know that a lot of people who are healthy are like kind of rolling their eyes. They're like, I'm already healthy. I don't need to hear this. But a fair amount of the freedom fighters are my age, 52 and older. And the wheels start falling off your bus from this point forward, primarily because we are being polluted. Thank you very much, Big Pharma and all the chemtrailing and everything else. We're being polluted in our water, in our skies. I mean, there was just a legal decision that came out that ruled against the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency that's supposed to protect us, and said fluoride is actually dangerous, which the awake people have known for decades. But most mainstreamers don't know that. They're putting fluoride in their kids' water. The kids are drinking the tap water and they're putting in their toothpaste, and it makes your child's IQ go down. This was a 60 or 80-page decision that just came out last week. So people need to know how to stay healthy, because you can't fight for anything if you're fighting for your own life.
Exactly.
And that is, by the way, that is one of the ways you can exchange with your freedom fighters. Like, I love you, and I have prioritized the fight for the world over my own family's health. Like, my kid's on food stamps. Why? Because I've been fighting for America and the world for 55 months and not doing anything else. And the fact of the matter is, if there's a win-win situation where somebody might need to be healthy because they need stem cells, or it could help with their pulmonary hypertension or their bad knee, or maybe they have cancer and they want to try oxygen water and see if it has some sort of positive effect on whatever they've got going on, they can't do what they don't know about. And it gets them the ability to do something good, and it keeps your freedom fighters in the fight. I mean, it used to be that our warriors were paid by our government to go fight wars in Asia and in Germany. Guess what, guys? The government isn't paying the freedom fighters in the fight. The government is the enemy. So I love America, and I know all of our patriots love us back. But the reality is, unless you were born like Elon Musk with a bunch of money in the bank, and even he had to make his money, but unless you're a Kennedy or a trust fund baby, or you've got some secret stash of money, at some point, we all need to make a living. And why not do it something that's actually going to keep the freedom fighters healthy, really, is the name of the game. But I'm excited to be teaching the course, to be able to make the water and the stem cell available to the folks who are struggling with their kids' education or their own health and want to do something good for themselves. And, it's a win-win, because at that point, I'm not homeless and under a bridge, and you guys are healthier, and you can join me in the fight. And everybody else who is going to be at Clay Clark. If you guys haven't gotten your ticket, you really got to get a ticket to Clay Clark. It is a one-of-a-kind event. And this is the very last one. So you don't want to miss it if you haven't been before. And even if you have been, you should go again.
Yeah, there it is, the poster, you guys. This is the last one. And let me tell you something. I know it just blesses me so much when I go to be able to meet people and actually be face to face with them and touch them and pray with them and hear stories. And, it really makes a difference. We're so used to, communicating the way you and I are right now, because we have the convenience of being able to do that, and it's great. But it's really it makes a difference when you can be face to face with someone. And so if anybody watching today, or if you're going to be close to Selma, North Carolina, if you can get there, you can still get tickets, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they still have some tickets, and that's going to be the 18th and 19th of this month, and it is the final one. That's what Clay Clark told me. Now, he's told me that before, but I
Same.
think with the election coming,
It is.
that it
It
probably
is.
will be. And I think, this is something my dad saw. He prophesied a remnant of people, and it would just be a remnant. And we have just gone across America every month, and no, we don't get paid for anything.
Yeah.
They don't pay anything to go, and really, a lot of what we do too. We're just going because we know how urgent this moment in time is, that we have got to do something. And one thing that is happening is we are being poisoned. I went to Walmart the other day and I bought some avocados. And I forgot about them because, I'm waiting for them to ripen, and they just never did. And my husband's like, these avocados are not. And we cut the avocado in half to have a look at it. And I was bending it like plastic.
Ew.
I know.
Yuck.
I said, I
Oh my
am never
gosh.
buying fruits and vegetables from Walmart again. So we
No.
are getting all of our we want to grow our own. Actually, we're going to start doing that. But until then, there's a farmer's market. Luckily, where we live, it's easy to do that. But definitely there's so much going on that we are not aware of. And again, for so long, we've just trusted all of these institutions, and they have to abuse that. And we saw it during COVID. We've seen it during the way that the lawmakers have we're all bound up by law. And that's a big problem too. And this is the thing about Roe versus Wade that people need to understand is it was held like that by the federal government, and by Trump appointing the Supreme Court that he did, and releasing that. Really, it's up to us to change the hearts of the people as Christians
in our state.
Yes. And that's where we come in. And this is what the theme I keep seeing in my dad's prophecies is that God is not saying, oh, get your popcorn and watch the show. He wants us to be involved, because there's something beautiful that happens in the unity of people when they come together. Just like the kids in Tenement Square that locked their arms together, as sad as that was, there's power in that. And it's just a small group really of people trying to grasp a hold of all the money and all the power in the world. But as soon as we are aware that awakening is what is necessary in order to overcome this, and we are very, very powerful. The people have the power, and they know that too. And so I saw people in there saying, well, Klaus Schwab has stepped down, and you will start to see things like that happen. And again, people like us with what we're doing, we don't have the big George Soros funding that the other side has, the BlackRock funding. And this is all, huge, massive amounts of money that they just have at their disposal, and they have abused that. Even Trump calling out Nancy Pelosi the other day because she sold her Visa stock, and she knew. And I remember her being interviewed and them saying to her, talking to her about members of Congress investing in the market. And she says, well, members of Congress need to be able to participate in the market. And I said, hang on a minute, not if you make the laws that govern that market.
Right.
So really, they've become, in all areas, quite brazen and bold, and not even really hiding it anymore. And so that's why you are seeing this awakening, and you are seeing so many people wake up and become aware, and not just to trust and to act. That you do have to vote, and you'd have to pay attention to who you're voting for. Don't just down ballot it. Like who's in the school board, who's in this, all the way from the bottom. This is what General Flynn has really taught me. All the way from the bottom up, we need to be paying attention to who is in control of what's going on in our lives, because we can't blindly trust anymore, because the devil got in.
The devil got in while we were all on autopilot, because this great nation, all of our freedom had been paid by the guys who went before. And I know everybody likes to hear me talk about child trafficking, but I'll give you a note to self, like on your avocado story. You're absolutely right to want to start growing your own food. I work with a friend who does trafficking work in Cuba. And they went over there, and it's usually the pastors who are facilitating. And their pastor was in jail for 10 years, the guy who was on the ground in Cuba and helping get the kids out at the trafficking. And the group was like, what happened to the pastor? And they're like, oh, he's doing 10 years hard time. And they're like, why? And they're like, well, he owned 2 chickens and it was a 5-year sentence per chicken. And my friend, born and raised here in America, was like, what are you talking about?
I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So they put him in jail, well, it's prison, for 10 years for owning 2 chickens. And you know why? Because he controlled the source of his own food, which made him independent from the government. And in a communist or a socialist or a fascist or any sort of totalitarian state that basically isn't a constitutional republic, they want you relying on them, because then they can kill you and they can herd you into a camp and they can make you queue up so you can get clean water or food or whatever it is. So as exciting as it is to help the kids, you can't help Jack or Jill or anyone if you're not free. And that is why we've really got to show up in amazing, amazing numbers during this election. It is not the time to let your hands off the wheel and be like, oh, it's okay. You've got to pay attention to the down ballot. I will confess a sin right now. I never, ever, I would like open the ballot the day before voting or the morning of, and I knew the big guys and I had researched the big ones, but who's on my college community school board? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'll go with the one who has the best paragraph and seems sort of sane, but I didn't really know them. I hadn't done a deep dive. And all it took was 2020 to happen. And I'm like, wow, they hold more power over your life than the president does, because they're in your backyard. They can close your kid's school. They can teach them communism. They can literally mask you. They can hold you hostage in your house with a passport plan. Like, it is imperative that you not just vote, but vote well for every single position. And the thing I would leave everybody with is we have a duty.
Yes.
We have a duty. If we're living in a first world country, somebody paid our dues for us. Somebody was out on the wall. Somebody was fighting the fight. Somebody was stepping out of the boats onto D-Day Normandy beaches and being shot down so that you and I could go to Target or Costco and buy our feather pillows and actually have our kids grow up without fear of being shot every time they turn around. And that is an amazing gift that nobody in a first world country, me included, can fully appreciate until it's ripped away from you. But go travel, because that's the next best thing. And in the meantime, you need to fight, and you do that peacefully. You do that by learning how to do a name and shame program through my course, or by taking on your school board, or using whatever skills God gifted you with. But Winston Churchill said something very powerful that I want to end on. He said 2 things. When in hell, keep going. Which I think is true. I don't get these people who are like, I just think it's not going to work out, so I'm just giving up. I'm like, why wouldn't you go down with your boots on? There's a chance you might win, even if it's slim. Like, how does giving up now when you're in the middle of this make it any better, right? So that was my first favorite quote, very short, 4 words. But my second favorite quote of his, he's got a lot, and he was a flawed person. But you know what, guys? Everybody's flawed.
Everybody is.
That's why Jesus was on the cross. Everybody's flawed. How dare we throw stones because somebody else isn't perfect or did something sometime that didn't work out or you didn't align with. Anyway, what Churchill said, despite being a normal human being, he was brilliant in many respects, is if you will not fight for right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory is sure and not too costly, you may come to the moment when you will have to fight with all of the odds against you and only a precarious chance of survival. And then he said, it may be worse than that. You may come to a time where you have to fight when there is no hope of victory, because it is better to die than to live as slaves.
Wow.
You don't want your children living as slaves. You don't want to be living as slaves. Get healthy. Learn how to fight peacefully within the rights that were given to us by our forefathers, our first and hopefully we don't need the Second Amendment, but our First Amendment rights of religion to gather, to speak, and get yourselves to the ballot box and to the Clay Clark events, and do take these opportunities to exchange with your freedom fighters who are keeping Danae's dad's prophecies that are giving all of us so much hope and guidance during these times. Sign up for the Vault so that she can continue to do what she is doing. You don't have to follow me or even follow her, but whichever freedom fighter you resonate with, they need shoe leather if they're going to be able to charge the next hill for you and your kids. And if you don't want to charge the hill, that's fine, but you need to support in some way. And it's either with money or it's with your resources. Maybe you're an accountant, maybe you're a volunteer and you can just volunteer. Whatever it is, nobody gets to ride for free in this fight or we will lose. But I don't think we're going to lose. I think we're going to win, because you and I are preaching to the choir, and this country is full of good people who have pulsing through their veins and their DNA 3% of people who told England to take a dang hike that we weren't doing it anymore and had no business winning a war against the greatest superpower at the time and birthed a country that the rest of the world hasn't ever even seen the likes of. We have a thing of beauty here, and it's our job to keep it that way.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, Lee. And everybody, you can go to her website. Lou, put the website up because people are asking about the website again. Put that website back up there. I'm going to read your book. I have not read it, and I'm going to read it. I'm so excited actually to read it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be all over that website too. There's the book. And just go and have a look, everybody, because this is someone who she really inspires me. She's become my friend, and I trust her. And so that is why I had her on here today, so that you could all hear from her yourself, because she's really just inspired me so much. And so I thank you. Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to say he threw the book up there, but it didn't have the website. And I saw some people in the chat saying, wait, I didn't catch the website.
Oh, yeah,
So
the website.
At the risk of sounding totally repetitive, it's on the bottom, at least on my screen, where it says leedundas.com in that red stripe right below Danae. But yeah, it's also, just take a screenshot. That's how you spell my name, LEIGHDUNDAS.com, and click around. You can find the course under the education. You can find the book under the book. You can find stuff about the child trafficking work and the freedom fight under the various other tabs, and the healthy living tab if you got health challenges and you want the water, or check out stem cells. But I finally just decided to do what Danae has done and just bring it all under one website, because trying to keep up with too many is just crazy making. So it was an honor to be here. I can't wait to see you and hug you again, my
we'll
friend.
see each other soon.
I know, in 2 weeks.
Well, thank you so much, Lee Dundas. Again, everybody go to leedundas.com, get her book, have a look at the website, do the course. I'm going to be doing all of those things, and we are going to be at the Reawaken America Tour on the 18th and 19th. So I will see you there. Thank you so much, Lee, for coming. And everybody, I can just see the chat going. So many of you are just right there with us, and I just really wanted. I've been trying to get Lee on here. We just hadn't been able to coordinate it for so long. So I was so glad to have her here. And Janelle over there in the HOD chat saying don't get the milk from Walmart either. Listen, you guys, it's very tempting because everything is so expensive that to go to Walmart. I've been doing it. I've been going to Walmart because it's just, you can get so much more. But I'm finding that this is not healthy food. And so we are starting to look into growing our own. We're definitely going to be doing that at my house and figuring out, well, I've never done it before. So my mom has, though. My mom's been doing it. My mom is very prophetic, and she has, she's been doing that, as well as she has a few goats and chickens. Mom has chickens, and thank God we live in America, where you're not going to spend a decade in prison for owning your own chickens. And it's very important to pay attention to those things, because it doesn't seem like that could happen here, but it could very quickly happen here. And so again, I'm so grateful to Lee for joining us today, and it's always just a good time with her. And her and I, we just got along so well. Just sometimes you meet somebody and you just get along. That's what happened with me and Lee. So it was so nice to finally have her on. And I do need to tell you before I go today about the Prophecy Vault. So you saw the commercial in the beginning. We've made the ad and everything, and I'm so excited about it, because this is something I've been working on for a while. Because what's happened is that we have all of these prophecies, we have all of these teachings, we have so much stuff, and it just needed to be organized and then sort of modernized, because everything that was on like DVDs and cassette tapes and DAT tapes and VHS, we've slowly been able to digitize that and collect it together. And that's what the Prophecy Vault is. And it's so much more than just the prophecies, because of course the database will always be up. And someone complained to me the other day and said the prophecies should be free, and the prophecies are free. That's not what this is about. This is more than that. You're helping to support the ministry. You're helping to support us continue to do this, because again, we can't just turn on the power if you haven't paid for the power, or use the internet if you haven't paid for it. And we're certainly not getting rich off of it. We just are needing to keep the show on, and to be able to get these prophecies to, I'm just looking at what's scrolling on the screen there, to get these prophecies to this is something that God put on my heart after Dad died. It was, the choice was, do we close the ministry down, or do we keep going? And keep going was the harder way, because we did not have my dad anymore, and my dad was the one that was always on the platform and always talking, and I had no experience doing any of it. And for instance, with the Reawaken America tour, I had never spoken to a crowd on my own like that in my life. And I went in January of 2022. Clay Clark invited me that December, and I went to Arizona, to Maricopa County, and which is where Dad prophesied the 2 terms for Trump from. And I got on that stage and did something I'd never done before, and I was so nervous. I was holding the microphone with 2 hands because my hand was shaking. But God did that, and there were so many of the prophecies that even came to pass within that group, that it really has been a great blessing to my life, and I'm so grateful to Clay Clark and General Flynn for honoring my dad and his gift, number one, because they have done that and recognized that God had done something special, but something that is still helpful. And so in the vault, we have, and we're continuing to do this too. We're getting all those prophecy transcriptions, matching them with video. And, 2009 and before, it's very difficult. We have to go and physically find it to get it digitized so that you can watch a video. And it's so important to be able to watch the videos, because you can read something, which is really important too, to be able to read through it, but to be able to watch him, because the way his voice might be. Maybe he's angry, maybe he's sad, maybe he's worried. That matters. Also, things like when and where was he? For instance, he prophesied 2 terms for President Trump from Maricopa County. And that's where we saw, and we're seeing exposed so much just this week of what was going on in Arizona over there with our elections. And so, and God does that. God would often put my dad in the place. For instance, he prophesied 9/11 from Dearborn, Michigan, which, that it's basically completely Muslim over there right now. And if you look at the fruit of that place, Detroit, we did Reawaken America in Detroit earlier this year in June, I think it was. And it was just shocking how many abandoned homes, abandoned businesses post COVID and everything they've gone through. Look at Chicago. These places from Chicago, my dad prophesied about RFK Jr. and how God would join the hands of Republicans and Democrats in the most unusual way. But that America would step up to the plate and come to oneness with God. And I'm quoting him verbatim. So we're seeing these prophecies, especially this year, coming to pass. It is amazing. So it tells us that this year is very important. And it also, it's so important for us to gather this, because at the end of this, I want to be able to have a completed thing that, can sit here and as part of history, that people can look back upon. And not only because Kim Clement was able to do this stuff, it's so far beyond that. It's what God can do, and that God not only exists, which has been a huge question, especially through the scientific age, the question of God's existence. And that's all those barriers are just getting crushed left, right, and center. But of course, this is one way in which God shows us that He is involved. He's not just observing. He's a part of what's going on in our lives, and He has a plan. And that was what was promised too. And so all of these prophecies we've put in a vault. And this was my dream. This is what I wanted to do. And so I'm so excited about it. And so, I mean, if you can get a Netflix subscription, you can get a Prophecy Vault subscription and help us out. And it really will make a difference, and you'll be a part of something great. And so that's why we've done this. And so I encourage you, you can use the QR code right there. I do have a list of things. I kind of just rattled that off the top of my head, but we have the database. We also have the School of the Prophets teachings. That's just part of that. So you don't have to get that separately or go try to find it. It's in there. I do my prophecy blog. We do analysis sessions. So we're really looking into like every little bit. And you've seen Christy and I have sort of taken over the Saturday broadcast just for now. As we're seeing these prophecies come to pass, we really are having to focus on it. And I mean, it has been God's hand has been in that, on how we're choosing the prophecies. We were looking at the UN prophecies, and then, we had the people speaking at the UN this week, and we didn't even realize it. And Iran, and how he prophesied about Iran, and we were talking about that. And then look at what just happened with Iran, and Israel just took out Is it Nasrallah? Is that how you say his name? The butcher of Beirut. That's what they call him. But so we're seeing prophecy fulfilled, and it also helps because it's been such a time of deception that we've really had to use a lot of discernment. And who do we trust? I mean, you just heard me and Lee talking about just all the institutions that have taken advantage of us, medical and the food we're eating and everything. And it's not a conspiracy theory. This is real. And what are we going to do about it? Well, we the people are the ones who the responsibility has fallen upon. And that's because America is by the people, for the people, under God. And we cannot ever forget that. And so I encourage you to join our Prophecy Vault. And also, don't miss anything this week. We have Prophetic Rewind tomorrow. We found the broadcast. This was a lost broadcast, and we found it. It was the broadcast right after February 22nd of 2014, where my dad prophesied so much stuff so accurately, where he prophesied about the impeachments and Roe versus Wade and the simple stone and North Korea. So much was in that. And the scales removed from eyes, MAGA. He saw a new party of people. They were one. They were one. That was February 22nd of 2014. And there is a broadcast right after that that we had wanted to use, and we could never find it. Well, we have found it. So that's what we're going to put on Prophetic Rewind. That will be up tomorrow, Monday. Then we've got Real Life, Real Faith on Tuesday. Pastor Faw, we're having church with Faw on Wednesday. We've got Charlie Jordan every other Thursday, or twice. I think it's every other Thursday now, Prophetic Perspectives. And then Friday, Israel Update. You guys really need to stay tuned to Israel Update right now, because Christy and Doobie are reporting from the ground in Israel, telling us everything that's going on. We know we can't trust the mainstream media. We just never know who to trust. Well, we know we can trust Doobie. Doobie's been with us, and before Dad got sick, he was with my dad over in Israel, and so we know we can trust Doobie. Doobie's over there. Of course, Christy produces Israel Update. She's been with us for many years, and her mother was a dear friend of my parents, going all the way back to when I was a baby in the early 80s. And so the team of people that we have here at the House of Destiny aren't just random hires. These are people who we've been working together for decades, and God is doing something really great in this country, in the hearts of the people. We're going to see Jesus become famous again. That's something else Dad prophesied about, that Jesus will be cool, and you're starting to see more and more and more people who are recognizing and the eyes are being opened, the scales are being removed from eyes. So it's a beautiful thing to be a part of. And so I thank you so much for those of you who support us and who have supported us for all of these years. We could not have done this without you. It is because of you that people like Donald Trump heard what was prophesied, his name prophesied 10 years before he was even inaugurated, before he ever thought of becoming president himself. My dad prophesied Trump will be a trumpet, and he'll build the walls of protection around this nation. And so it has helped even them. And it's so important. And the books. So if you give a donation today or anytime of any amount, you get this. It's a 30-day devotional. Actually, it's 31 days. My dad loved devotionals. And these are his writings. He used to write emails called The Daily Lights. And he'd write it to all us kids, the whole family, the whole ministry, everybody who worked on our team, and then other ministries and pastors and friends. So everybody got these emails called The Daily Lights from him. And they were so beautiful and so well written and so inspired by God. And the voice, a prophetic voice, sort of explaining how he saw things, which is so important too. And it's just beautiful the way they put this together. And you can, if you give us $1, we want to send it to you, but you have to let us know you want it. And so you can either use the QR code at the bottom of your screen right now, or just go to the website and make sure you click the banner. The other one we have is our new release from this year, and it's called Prophetic Revelations, a collection of letters from the pen of Kim Clement. Here it is right here. And it's so beautiful. Isn't it nice? Dad created this right here. He made it. What's it called? A crest? Jackie, what's this thing called? The crest? My brain's not working today. My dad actually made this. He designed it. And when he would give prophecies to presidents and, or whoever God directed him to give a word to, an individual word to, he had these blue binders and he had that crest on it. And so we made sure to include that as well, because that's something he made: the sword, the lion, the pen, even the cross. You see the little cross at the bottom? I have that on my arm. I got that after my dad passed away, because that was the one and only tattoo that he had. And so if you give a donation of $25 or more, we will send you that. And you can use the QR code again, or make sure you go to the website and click the banner. And I think I got everything. And I think Trey Smith's going to come on again with me next week. I have not confirmed it. So just keep an eye on our social media platforms, and just wherever you follow us, we'll let you know for sure if Trey is going to come. I think he is. So look out for that. And I love you all. And we are continuing to pray for the victims in the hurricane disaster, which is just right above us. And, the news coverage has been so awful that I'm only now beginning to see how bad it got. A whole town's wiped out. So we really are going to look into how we can help. I know Samaritan's Purse is a Franklin Graham. That's their area. So they're really active over there. But we continue to pray for them. It was such an unusual hurricane. And again, that was part of what Dad prophesied about this year in the season's prophecy, is the hurricanes. Why do they choose me? So also, if you want to email us with your prayer requests, we want to get them. We love to pray for you guys. hope@houseofdestiny.org. That's at the bottom of the screen now. And again, I love you all, and I will see you next week.
Are vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving us with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss. I'm going to make it your gain. For the first time ever, you get standard classic MyPillows for wholesale prices, only $14.88. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, I'm going to offer my entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.88. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you. And then by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.